Welcome to episode 4 of our podcast. We are so excited that we can all be here. Such a great experience. Thank you.
Our audience is ready for this.
We're grateful to be here today. We're talking about AI and today a little bit. Something that we have a little bit of experience with. But just talking about how it works in education. I want to start with an example. So, I'm teaching a writing class, an advanced writing class, and they were submitting a paragraph, part of a larger essay, and I asked them to fix the grammar, and I said, wait a minute, can you guys use ChatGPT to fix the grammar? And one student said, no, that's cheating. Another student said, it doesn't work very well. I've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, it's not cheating, and it works well if you give it the right prompt.
Mm-hmm.
And so we pulled up, one of the students sent me their paragraph, and I did the prompt as the following paragraph is written by a non-native English speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Please correct the grammar.
Mm-hmm.
And it did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So I told all my students, if you come up with the ideas and you need help with grammar, where do you go? They ask a roommate, they ask a friend. I said, now you can ask a computer. So I don't have a problem with it. But I don't know what you guys think. Is that
Juan, where did you go?
you lost Juan?
Sorry, I'm getting my computer for some notes.
Oh, yeah. So he's got some good notes. In the meantime, Maria, do you think that's cheating?
No, I don't think that's cheating. I think as long as they use it wisely, like you said, don't put your whole essay on there, don't have ChatGPT write it for you. But just for some corrections, I think that's great.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I think it's better to teach them how to use it correctly than tell them don't use it at all. Because they're going to use it no matter what. But as long as we teach them, this is a good way, this is not so good of a way to use this, then...
So I think with that, we're ready to close our podcast
Okay,
today.
we're
That was
done.
perfect. That was
That's
what
all
we
you
were
gotta
going at. So thanks for listening. No, really, though, I think Maria hit on it. It's here to stay. We got to teach people how to use it. Juan, what do you think?
I think it's here to stay. I think it's gonna keep getting better and better. Lots of experts in the field, think that it's going to keep improving very quickly. I think for our students and for us, it just means that we have to sort of keep up with it in a way. I know that a lot of people, students and teachers, feel maybe, I don't know if intimidated is the right word, but maybe unsure about using it. But I think our students are going to grow up in this new era of technology. And if we as teachers don't do our duty in learning about it and finding ways to harness it and help it enhance what we do in the classroom, we probably be doing the students a disservice. Because there's a lot of potential that you can do some really, really cool things with it. A lot of people fear that it's going to displace people, and in some areas it might. But I don't think it's going to be a thing where everybody's going to be out of a job. I think it's going to make our work more efficient. It already has in my case. I use AI every day for work, right? And I have developed some skills, I think, that help me get the most out of it so that I can help my students. I look at it as my students are benefiting from the expertise that I'm developing with AI. So it's here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. We have to learn how to use it. I think in our field, this idea of being a good prompt engineer is going to be more prominent. Somebody in our unit here at work last week shared with us a job posting for the University of Iowa, I think, or Iowa State, one of the two. I don't know if you saw it, Ben. You're nodding your head. Anyway, they were looking for a assistant or associate professor with specific skills in generative AI. And so it's a reality now.
It
There's
is.
going to be a need for people that are proficient in this new technology. And so I think we gotta learn it. It's amazing if you know how to use it. It doesn't take a long time to learn how to use it. You just need to put the time into it, I think.
Maria, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question. So, does that mean that we need to kind of get creative with ways that we can use it, or how do we keep up with it? Like, what do we do?
I think it can help us be more productive. I don't think we necessarily have to be more creative, but it can help us do everyday tasks at work more effectively or efficiently. For example, Ben, you were talking about how your students were asking, or you had your students get feedback on their writing, right? I have done the same. My students write a paragraph every week, and they're supposed to get help from a tutor to improve their grammar, right? So
Now you took that tutor's job away.
no, I didn't. We did a study. We did a study where we looked at a couple of different things. We looked at if a student is receiving feedback from a human tutor and from GPT-4, what is their preference? Do they prefer the human or they prefer the tutor? So what do you guys think? Think about your students. What do you think they would prefer and why?
Human for several reasons. I think they would prefer it because this is new technology, so they trust the human better.
Okay.
And also, people crave connection.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're connecting with a computer, you've got some serious problems.
Yeah.
You connect with people.
Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree with you, but I can see the other side where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, a computer won't criticize me, or
Sure.
a computer won't judge me for my mistakes. So I can
Yeah.
see.
that's
both
a really
ways.
good point. If and especially if you're a person who doesn't take feedback very well, that can be really. That's a really good point.
Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
know what? You want to know what we found
Are
out?
you?
No, who are you? Oh my goodness.
So
Yeah,
we
tell us more.
found that it was pretty much evenly split, with the slight advantage towards, drum roll please.
Oh, we got one.
Wait.
We got
Oh,
one.
we got one. Drum roll. AI.
Ooh.
Slight advantage, a slight preference towards AI. So those students that prefer the human, like you said, Ben, they wanted human interaction. They wanted to be able to ask follow-up questions. They wanted to be able to clarify things. But those that preferred AI, they liked the clarity, they liked the detail, they liked the depth of the feedback they received. And that has to do a lot with the prompt that we engineered for that. So pretty much evenly split on preference.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool.
Is that something you presented in New York?
Yes, we presented that in New York along with another study, and then we're taking that one to Thailand in January to present that. So we're excited for that.
Cool.
That's awesome. Hope
Yeah.
you get to see some elephants.
I am looking forward to seeing some elephants.
Yeah. So when you were talking, a few things, I have lots of thoughts that came to my mind. So stop it, Maria. So here's the thing. I bet when people started using papyrus, they were like, that's not real writing. You've got to etch it in stone or else you're not doing the right thing.
Yeah.
This writing with this colored ink fluid isn't a
Mm-hmm.
thing. Just the same way when I'm sure when a typewriter came about, it's like, that's not really writing. Why are we getting a machine to create the things?
Mhm.
Oh, a word processor, a computer, and now the next evolution is AI, really?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I was thinking about, so there's three things. That was the first thing. The second one is this idea of losing jobs to AI. And the fact is, we've been losing jobs to computers and technology for
Yeah.
hundreds of years.
Think about self-checkout at the store.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and we're surviving, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
part of it,
Well, you're surviving because you have a job.
no, yes.
I'm kidding.
I'm talking about
I
as a
know what you're
society.
saying. I know.
So
I
here's the
know.
thing too, with the checkout thing, and I could be absolutely wrong, does anybody aspire to be a checkout clerk for their longtime personal career? I don't know that I can answer that yes or no, but I can definitely say that having those self checkouts, most of the people in the world are happy about those.
So think about it too, right? Those self checkouts, they make going to the store more efficient. You don't have to wait in line forever to have your items, checked or
Yeah.
purchased, whatever. So same thing with AI, right? It's just making our daily life a little bit easier to manage.
Yeah. So when you said that, when I'm actually at the store and I see that there is a register open with a human and there's no line, I go to it before I go to the self checkout.
But not
Do you
everyone
talk-
does that.
Not everyone
So
does that, but
there's another
I want to
benefit.
I want to talk to the person. I
was
just
gonna
like
say.
talking to people.
But on the other hand, Ben, when I go to the store, I go to the self checkout
Oh.
because I don't necessarily want to talk to anyone at the store.
Yeah. I like
I go to the person too.
I like teasing
do?
the person and saying things and making those dumb dad jokes like, no price on it, must be free. And they're like, just
I've
roll
heard
your
it
eyes.
a million times.
I know.
Like, sir,
But
there's
it's
a
okay if
self
I tell that
checkout.
dad joke because afterwards I recognize that it's a dad joke. Like, doesn't have a price on it, must be free. That's the worst dad joke ever. You've heard that one before, right? Like, that's supposed to make it better. But anyway. So that was the other thing. And then the third thing was actually a question. Juan, you say you use it every day. How?
Oh man, you name it, I've done it.
Okay.
Probably. I use it to create materials for my class. Sometimes I have an idea of a worksheet or a handout or a PowerPoint that I want to use in class and I don't have it. And I can go to ChatGPT, I can explain what I want, and through a series of revisions, it gives me what I want.
So is that time-wise? Is it more time-consuming to do it yourself from the beginning, or is that ChatGPT thing?
I feel like it's saving me a lot of time. For example, let me think. The other day I had to come up with a worksheet on direct quotations for my students. And in my mind, I had this idea there's going to be a passage, and there's going to be a direct quotation that's wrong from that passage, and I want my students to fix it. And I wanted to have a worksheet with 10 exercises like that. And I guess I could have done it, but to find that passage for 10 may have taken me a long time. I wanted them all to be different, right? So probably took me 15 minutes to get what I wanted. And of course, one of the things that I learned from the conference in New York, there's some new terminology that's being thrown out there that I think is pretty cool. We need human-centered AI, right? So we need to have a human at the center of everything we do. Because no matter how intelligent artificial intelligence gets, it lacks human essence. I don't know what to call it.
It can only do what it does because humans give it the algorithms.
Exactly.
Right? So and I think people need to know that, right? It's not going to take over the world. This isn't a post-apocalyptic movie.
But you should go watch that movie, The Creator. It's a good movie.
Okay, well, yeah, I was going to go see it with Taylor, but
There you
we
go.
haven't.
It's so good.
No.
Go watch it.
Okay, we might have to do that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So I develop materials. It helps me with research. Like if I need to find an article or a book or a source for my class. I can go in there and tell I'm working on this topic with my class. I need an article related to this. It'll give me some sources to look at.
I have never thought of doing that.
It does a really good job.
That's a really good thing. I like it.
Yeah.
Do you put on the bottom of your papers, this worksheet was generated by ChatGPT?
So
I'm not
that's
saying you should.
no.
I'm just,
That's good. That's the next point that I wanted to bring up.
Did you see
Authorship.
that?
So authorship. What? This is a question that was raised at the conference in New York. What constitutes authorship? Right? If what I'm doing with the worksheets, should I have to put this worksheet was generated by AI? Think about research, right? If I'm working on a manuscript and I'm using AI to help me generate ideas, do I have to disclose that I use generative AI to help me write that? So what do you guys think? Does using AI to produce materials, is that are those my materials or are they AI's?
well, let me answer with a few different questions. The architect who doesn't draw his plans on graph paper puts it into a computer program that prints it out. He didn't draw it. The computer
Yeah.
printed it.
Yeah.
Is it his, or is it
I
the
don't know.
computer's? Mathematicians who solve complex problems but use their calculators.
Yeah.
Is it the calculator gets all the credit, or is it the human?
So, yeah, I don't know. I think if you're asking for my opinion, I think it would probably be a good idea just from an ethical standpoint to disclose that, it was created with the assistance of AI. But I think I'm the author.
I think that's totally awesome.
And some people could argue the opposite.
They could.
And it's fair to, debate about that, I think.
I think it kind of depends on what you're doing, what you're using AI for. And I don't know much about it, but I'm thinking if you're asking for ideas, right, then technically those are not your ideas, right? So I don't know.
But we
Alright.
always steal ideas from people.
We do.
We
That's-
steal ideas
yeah.
from people. We get tutors to help us with stuff, but they don't get. I mean, when you send something to faculty editing and they look at stuff, we don't give them credit for writing it.
Also think about, for example, our students going to the reading and writing lab.
Yeah, they don't count. They don't give them credit for that. They don't say this was written by. But
I think what I'm saying, the initial ideas, because like
Yes,
if you go
yeah.
to the writing center, you go with an already written
Yeah.
paragraph.
I see.
Right?
yeah, I know what
I
you're
see.
saying. I'm just saying this is
Yeah.
all in that
Yeah,
same
and it's not,
realm.
and I'm not saying that I know the answer or that there is a very clear answer.
I don't know if there's a
right?
clear answer, really.
But should we make that?
I have a clear
distinct-
answer.
Should we make that distinction between
Uh,
if it's initial ideas or if it's something that I've worked on and then I need some help with it? Is there a difference there?
I think if there is content generated by generative AI that is used, that's when it becomes murky.
Mhm.
So if you say, write me an introduction paragraph for
Yeah.
a scientific article on some kind of chemical reaction, and then you're like, I'm going to put that in there. I think that one would be, introduction was written with help from generative AI or something like that. But if it was, check this paragraph to make sure that that it's clear for, and you have it do that and it gives you suggestions, I don't think you need to reference it. But I think, yeah, go ahead, Juan.
No, sorry. That's one of the suggestions we make in one of the studies we did over the spring, that if you're providing feedback, because that's also something I do, right? I use AI to generate feedback for my students. I think transparency is important, and let the students know how that feedback is being generated. So it builds trust, I think, when you say, look, here's your paper, I used AI to generate feedback. I spent a lot of time developing a good prompt so that it generates feedback that's appropriate for you. I vetted all the feedback. I made changes to the feedback. And what I'm submitting is it has my seal of approval per se, right?
Yeah.
Does it go the other way where the students are kind of unhappy about that?
So I don't know, right? So we would also have to think about that because some students may not want that. They may say, well, I don't want a computer to give me feedback. I want you to give me feedback.
They could go and get the feedback that way as well, right? So what's the point of you
That's a good
being
point.
in
Exactly, right. Yeah,
But
that's a good
this
point.
was brought up by one of my students, right? He said that it's not always accurate. So I think that there's a lot of people, and it'll only get better,
Yeah.
but this is the early stages.
I think-
and I think that it's perfectly normal for someone to not feel comfortable using it for
Yeah.
feedback.
But I think, Juan, you brought up an important point because you said, yes, AI is giving you the feedback. I look at it,
Mhm.
I make sure that it's correct, and then I
Yeah.
give it back to you. So maybe that's an option.
Yeah, I think when you look at the content that is generated by AI, there's different models out there, right? So, for example, ChatGPT uses GPT 3.5. That's the free version. That's the version that most people use. That one, based on some research that we've done here, is not as capable as GPT-4. That's the one you have to pay for. And so when we did our research here, we decided to go with the paid version because it's a lot more reliable, and the information that it provides is a lot more detailed and clear. So if the students are saying that it's not really useful, in my mind, I'm thinking about two things. Number one, oh, look at those balloons.
Why did they come?
I don't know why I did that. Number one, the prompt, right? You have to have a good prompt for AI to give you something that is going to be useful. And number two, you have to think about which model you're using, right? Are you using the free version or are you using the paid version? Because the information you receive is going to vary greatly depending on what you use.
It's crazy. And I just want to bring this up. We're coming towards the end of our episode here, but I don't like that we call it artificial intelligence because I feel like we're giving the machine more credit than it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't creating intelligence. We've created a machine that we can't physically see, right? It's a set of commands that, given the information that it's given, it can make choices
Mm-hmm.
to help get to an end result. I don't like that. That's one thing I like about Apple, the company. They never call anything. They have never said AI, right?
Yeah.
But they have things like
But they
the
use it.
neural. What's that?
But they use AI.
They do, and they call some of the processing that others would call AI as the neural engine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where
Yeah.
but that one to me focuses more on connecting information to make choices, which is what
Yeah.
AI is doing. I mean, we use AI all the time, and probably if you use a current copy of Microsoft Office Suite, you'll
Yeah.
notice that it's doing a lot more auto-completing for you.
Yeah.
That's all the same machine learning, but we don't always call it AI.
Yeah.
So I don't like giving it that credit because we created the machine,
Yeah.
and the machine will never have sentience. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
It can pretend to if it's programmed to, but that's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my 2 cents on.
Yeah.
This is a great conversation. We could probably talk about this forever.
Yeah.
Right, Maria?
Right.
I feel like I've dominated this and I didn't
No.
mean to, but
No.
It's
I just
been-
have my last 2 cents on this.
Yeah.
Austin Pack, who works here with me, he did a study with another professor here, and they sort of proposed a workflow for using AI. So I just want to go over a little bit with you.
Yeah.
The first thing you should do is you should assign AI a identity or role. For example, you are a English teacher, or you are a journal reviewer, or you are.
Do you do that in the prompt?
Before you begin anything? Yes.
You just tell it what it is.
You tell it
So it's
who they
not
are.
just a mental activity. It's a,
Yeah, yeah. So that's the first thing you should do. Then you define a clear objective for AI. So, for instance, review this paragraph for grammar, right? And then there you probably want to specify which grammatical points you wanted to look at, right? Once you do that, you specify the context. So define boundaries, right? If you have a rubric that you wanted to use to assess a paper, which we've done here, then you do that. Assess this paragraph based on this rubric, right? So you provide boundaries. And then lastly, and probably the most important, is you refine the output through clarification. Very rarely are you going to get what you want on the first output. So it's a process of refining that until you get something that you're satisfied with. And that's one of the reasons why I think, we talked about authorship earlier, that's one of the reasons I think that it is part me. I'm part of the author because I helped generate that. So some people may disagree, and that's totally fine. But yeah,
That's awesome, Juan. Your
Thank you.
your expertise in this area is awesome. It's so cool
I-
that you got to present at a conference about it.
But wait, isn't he awesome?
He's
I am-
totally
I'm
awesome.
awesome.
Did you know he's awesome?
I did know he's awesome. Yes.
I wish this had been around when I was doing graduate school because
Hey,
It
there's
was
still
so
more
much easier.
graduate school you could do.
I know we don't want to talk about that right now, Ben.
Okay, we won't talk about that. But you were talking about workflows. There's one other workflow that we need to talk about. Subscribe to our podcast or
That's
YouTube
right.
channel, and then send it to a friend
Yes,
who
I
you think would be entertained by our shenanigans.
Yeah. How many followers do we have now?
I haven't checked
You
recently.
haven't
Oh,
checked?
the last time I looked, it looked like there was 9.
9.
So
Okay, we're
we
growing.
almost doubled. From
We
like-
double. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I hope if we double every time we do an episode, it's going to take so many episodes until we get to 1 million.
Hey, we will do it.
But that's not the goal.
That is not the goal.
The goal is to have fun, talk about ideas, disagree about ideas, because I've heard it both ways.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Whoa.
I know.
That's
that was
good.
good.
Thanks. Well, I've heard it both ways. All right. Thanks for watching or listening, and stay tuned for our next episode. Thanks.